Qatar 2022 missed out. Super Eagles crashed in 1-1 draw with Ghana in Abuja.
Another train station and community along the Abuja-Kaduna rail track attacked by bandits.
President Buhari summoned security chiefs, directs immediate conclusion of all processes to integrate security surveillance.
Certainly, there will be a greater security for the nation, and I'd like to urge everyone to go about their normal duties.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, our conversation is on the state of the nation, plus updates on the Abuja-Kaduna train attack.
This week, Monday, saw another dimension to the security threat on lives and critical infrastructure in the country as some terrorists planted explosives and bombed a section of the Abuja-Kaduna rail.
Well, accounts have it that the Abuja-Kaduna bound train derailed after the bomb went off between Katare and Regina. That was at about 8 p.m. local time, causing panic for the visibly shaken passengers who were on board. But then, that was just the beginning of their ordeal.
Yes, indeed, Kingsley. You know, the emotions heightened for all as the attackers now opened fire on the train, shooting sporadically at anyone and anything on sight on the train, even as they try to infiltrate the coaches.
No question about that. Now, this, of course, got some of the distressed passengers injured and lots of devastation to the train itself. But, of course, a number of the passengers also had the presence of mind to begin contacting the security agencies, who then responded by deploying personnel to the identified location where the train had derailed.
But then palpable fears are also on with the abduction of some passengers as well. And sadly too, 8 passengers are feared dead after being hit, while some gave up in the course of several hours of rescue operation and evacuation. Some 41 persons injured, we understand, are being attended to in different hospitals across Kaduna State.
That's right, Kirian. Yesterday on Good Morning Nigeria, we had interaction with the acting Deputy Director News of the Nigerian Television Authority, Muhammad Ali, who himself was on that train service. And he gave us an eyewitness account of the horror of first the detonation of the explosives, and then the derailment of the train, and what followed, as you said a while ago, with the indiscriminate shooting by the terrorists who then hit the train. He was the first, of course, to indicate that he saw at least 4 dead bodies in the coach where he had tried to take refuge. But he was unhurt and is with his family in Kaduna. Now, the Kaduna state government, through Samuel Aruwan, the commissioner for the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Ministry for Internal Security and Home Affairs, issued a statement explaining that passengers who sustained injuries had been moved to hospitals, while the dead bodies had also been moved to the morgue. Now, there's a promise by the Kaduna state government to take care of the medical bills of those who are injured and receiving treatment.
Well, there were also various circulated requests in the media for blood donations from members of the public to assist victims of the ill-fated train attack. And of course, in a tweet on Tuesday, the Nigerian Railway Corporation said it was suspending its operations on the route because of unforeseen circumstances. and would provide further information in the course. And Kingsley, my fear and concern is the fact that other hoodlums may try also to emulate what happens at Kaduna, because other routes are still functional at the moment.
Yeah, well, the thing to then do is to put them out of business as quickly as possible. Wherever those plants are being incubated, they should be pulverized for the safety and security of those who use rail transportation. And it was heartwarming, if I may say this, that the security defense top brass were themselves at the scene of the train attack. The Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Lucky Rabo, was there, and of course with the Inspector General of Police. And later on, the Chief of Army Staff also visited the scene, and they came to brief the President of the developments and what other steps would need to be taken. And Kirian, we discussed this subject yesterday. If I were to interrupt our regular course on the topic that we had, to bring in Muhammad Ali to give us his eyewitness account, along, of course, with the brief that we got from the Managing Director of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, who was at the Lagos airport, by the way, trying to get a flight to Abuja for on-the-spot assessment of the tragedy.
Yes, indeed. Several hours before the train attack on this same Monday, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, had a press conference on the state of the nation.
Well, the minister at the briefing voiced out many matters of concern to governance, including the scorecard of the Buhari APC-led administration. According to him, the folks on the other side have been doing everything in recent times to overheat the polity, distort the achievements of our administration, and spread misinformation. He underscored the federal government's performance, especially in the provision of infrastructure and others. This, of course, will be part of what we'll be discussing in the conversation segment on the program today. But our key focus will be on an update on the terrorist attack on the Abuja Kaduna train service on Monday, the 28th of March. On that note, we'd like to welcome you to this edition of Good Morning Nigeria. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Gideon Umayo. Welcome to the program. We are live on the network service of the NTA, and as usual, we have our complimentary segments in the course of the program. For now, here is Musbao Dan Wahab with the morning news highlights. Good morning, Musbao. How did you feel yesterday, when we lost out to Ghana with respect to 2022 World Cup?
Well, Kirian, I felt like any other Nigerian, but it was really a big loss for the Super Eagles of Nigeria and Nigeria by extension. Ghana, the Black Stars had their own game plan to keep us away from scoring in Ghana, and then they came here to do all the attack on the Super Eagles of Nigeria. It's a sad one, but we move. Let's take the news. Terrorists have attacked Gideon train station and community along the Abuja-Kaduna rail track. The train with the Minister of Transportation, Chibuike Amechi, and his entourage heading to Abuja from the visit to the scene of Monday's attack was made to stop for some minutes before proceeding on the trip. Security personnel have been dispersed to the area. This is the second attack within 24 hours along the same axis. Our President Muhammad Buhari has been formally briefed on the violent terrorist attack on Abuja-Kaduna bound train Monday evening. The President, who was deeply worried over the incident, summoned an emergency meeting with the nation's security on facts and counter-strategy. He directed the immediate conclusion of all the processes for the implementation of integrated security surveillance and monitoring solution for all the active rail lines in the country.
We will take every action necessary. It's not just to apprehend those who are behind this dastardly act, but for them to also face justice. Going forward, certainly there will be a greater security for the nation, And I'd like to urge everyone to go about their normal duties.
And Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo has visited the victims of Kaduna train attack and pledged renewed commitment to halt every act of insecurity in the country.
We must continue to provide the kind of security and surveillance that is required on the rail tracks. And that, of course, is something that we're very actively doing to ensure that we have a comprehensive plan for protecting rail tracks and protecting all of our transport assets everywhere. We've been around to see some of the victims of this very tragic incident, but and many of them, of course, are recovering very well, and we're very happy to see that the state government has taken on the responsibility of medical assistance to them and ensuring that they are comfortable and that they're well.
And so 8 persons have been confirmed dead and 41 hospitalized as a result of injury from the attack on the Abuja-Kaduna trains. Minister of Transportation Chibuike Amechi, who visited the scene of the attack in Regina, said he is saddened by the incidents, promising to hasten the installation of sensor on the rail track as well as drone for 24-hour monitoring along the routes. The National Assembly has urged the Nigerian Army and Armed Air Force to carry out sustained bombardments of terrorist enclave in and around Kaduna State to restore peace and security. This is in reaction to the latest attack on the Abuja-Kaduna bound train.
Effective gathering of intelligence and sustained security operations at the local level will make life uncomfortable for terrorists.
Another rather sad news, the Super Eagles of Nigeria have failed to qualify for the 2022 World Cup after drawing Ghana 1-1 on Tuesday. Black Stars of Ghana opened the scoring of the game as keeper Thomas Partey played a thunderous shot which was too heavy for the Super Eagles keeper Francis Uzoho to handle. 2 minutes later, the Super Eagles were awarded a penalty after Demola Lukman was brought down in the 18 box. Nigeria's keeper William Trust Ekong stepped up to convert the penalty, making the game level, but that wasn't enough as Ghana qualified on an away goal advantage. 700 megawatts of electricity is said to be delivered to the national grid from the Zungeru hydroelectricity power plants. Minister of State for Power, Godi Jedi Agba, gave the cheering news of a test run of Unit 1 of a project in Niger State.
Of stage 1, it shows President Muhammad Buhari's commitment to this project and to the project of power, clean energy to Nigerians. I assure you that by the end of this year, we should be able to commission the other 3 projects and put in 700 megawatt of energy to the grid, national grid, for Nigerian public.
That was a bit of the news for now. We'll bring you more in the course of the day. For now, let's take a break. And the program Good Morning Nigeria will continue in just a moment with Gideon and Kinsley.
As the world advances, Samuel Adegboyega University, Ogwa, Edo State, is poised to deliver world-class education rooted in strong academic traditions. In the colleges of law, basic and applied sciences, humanities, management and social sciences, Samuel Adegboyega University is building the next generation of leaders. Hurry now for 2021-2022 undergraduate and postgraduate admissions into any of our NUC fully accredited programs. Secure admission today in one of the fastest growing private universities in Africa. Also note that the university runs diploma, JUPEB, part-time and tuition-free programs. For more information, visit www.sau.edu.ng or call 0705-079-1226. Samuel Adegboyega University, to nurture for discipline and excellence.
The ever-busy ancient city of Onitsha is a commercial hub with millions of commuters seamlessly linking other states daily for business, leisure, and other purposes. To upscale its road network, the construction of a 1.6-kilometer long second Niger bridge, including a 10.3-kilometer highway furnished with other infrastructure, has been in motion by the federal government. This project will ease congestion on the existing 56-year-old Onitsha bridge and boost the economic capacity of the state as it easily connects to other parts of the country. The completion of the world-class second Niger bridge Onitsha will be one of the many proud moments of the state, its people, Nigerians, and foreign investors. Onitsha, which hosts the largest market in Africa, is geared up to boast of an impressive road network. Once again, these moments are made alive by the federal government, and it is deserving of all the applause.
You won't go shake your body. Instead, they make it calm down. He the pump say you sabi. You want to grow 6 packs in a day. I beg you not to pass the power. You want to show yourself. Who can carry the matter?
Whatever your size, find it with the new Airtel data plans. Dial *141# now to get the plan that suits you. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Thank you for the rejections that taught me to keep striving. Thank you for the long hours that taught me discipline. Thank you for the knockdowns that taught me to bounce back. And for the unexpected victories that taught me to never give up. Thank you for making me who I am.
When times are tough, we know that as the mother, one thing you should never compromise on is your family's oral health, because they deserve the best. Oral-B, all-round protection. Its great value, it protects your mouth from harmful bacteria and also protects you against tooth holes and gum problems which can lead to tooth loss. It strengthens your family's teeth and gives them all-round protection. So remember, protect their future. Oral-B for healthier, stronger teeth in just 1 week.
Well, we thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. Now we go business. Owners of small and medium-scale businesses in Nigeria call again for government interventions to save small and medium enterprises, SMEs, from collapse. They made this suggestion while assessing the rising cost of diesel and its implications for small businesses in the country. Let's now join Aleka Obanachi Arwa for details.
Business owners highlighted that SMEs are groaning due to socioeconomic issues like high inflation, devaluation, and insecurity. They noted that this has resulted in shrinking revenues, closure of businesses, and transferred costs to consumers, and rising worker layoffs. Convener of the boot camp, Bankole Akintujoye, urged the federal government to exploit targeted sectoral interventions to salvage the SMEs and stabilize the economy. In addition, he believed that it was time for Nigeria to fix the energy infrastructure that would insulate it from global shocks. Also, bakers under the aegis of the Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria have said the current business environment, triggered by rising energy costs and increasing forex rates in addition to the Russia-Ukraine crisis, has caused some of its members across the country to shut down their business operations. President, Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria, Emmanuel Onuora, described the present situation as worrisome and imminently creeping for operators in the bread-making business segments. According to Onuora, wheat suppliers have suggested a possible scarcity of the product, indicating that the price of bread may go up significantly if nothing is done to prevent it. With business news, Alika Opanachi, Aro.
Thank you very much, Alika, for the business package. Up next, newspaper review.
All right, we have a reviewer, Bayo Atayabi. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Gideon. Good morning. Good morning, Kinsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, let's begin with the Punch newspaper. Above the name flag of the Punch newspaper, poor Nigerians to hit 95.1 million in 2022, says World Bank. That's on page 28. Customs hand over 3.9 billion naira drones, camouflage, others to army. It's on page 26. State assemblies received 44 bills on constitution amendment. That's on page 29. Now the lead story on the Punch. Kaduna Abuja train attack. Buhari National Assembly governors demand tough actions. Survivors recount ordeal. For riders to that outrage greets killing of doctor, unionists, government officials in Kaduna bound train attack. Airlines halt flights to Kaduna over attacks. Rep summon NSA, service chiefs, IG. I felt my soul leaving my body, recounts survivor who saw another passenger shot. Now the photo story is of the visit, by the vice president to the hospital where some victims are receiving treatment. All right, below that we have a Kwankwaso resigns from PDP, side disagreement, joins NNPP. It's on page 7. 15 arrested, residents flee as 4 killed in Kogi court wars on page 29. FCT court bars PDP from dissolving Kano Exco is on page 8. 11 killed, valuables stolen in Plateau, South Kaduna fresh attacks is on page 4 and 5. Autumn's 8 laments as herdsmen killed Deeper Life pastor and 3 others. That's on page 8. Presidency, I won't bow to APC's intimidation. That's according to Wike.
All right, let's also take a look at the leadership newspaper. And below the name flag, federal government freezes over 30 accounts of illegal loan companies. The National Assembly transmits constitutional amendment bills to state assemblies. That's on page 7. Kaduna train attack, 8 bodies recovered, 26 injured, survivors narrate ordeal. Many still missing. Hunt down the terrorists, President Muhammadu Buhari, other service chiefs. Oshibajo, El-Rufai, and others visit victims in hospital. And some of the names of the casualties are indicated there. You have 8 fatalities, the paper is reporting 26 injured. Soludo unveils 20 commissioners designate. That should be 20 commissioners nominees, or commissioner nominees. It's when they have been cleared and before they are sworn in by this, His Excellency, that they become commissioners designate. So they are nominees for commissionership. Governors showcase state's potential at Dubai Investment Summit. Fans on the rampage after Ghana dashed Nigeria's hope of World Cup. That's on page 30. Mayo.
Thank you, Kinsley. Let's start with
you have another paper that
you have another paper, but it's not about the same story. That's the National Star newspaper, 24 hours of sorrow, tears and blood on Abuja Kaduna Trail route. That's page 4. Just about the same stories. So let's go to Bible.
Yes, President Muhammadu Buhari has expressed grave sadness over the attack on the Abuja Kaduna train, leading to the deaths and injuries. He empathized with the families of the deceased and the injured and said that the train ought to be a safe means of transportation to many. He directed an immediate conclusion of integrated security surveillance and monitoring on the rail services across the country, and also directed that the Nigerian Railway Corporation should speedily repair damaged lines and resume normal services. After receiving brief from all security chiefs, he challenged the security to bring back all the kidnapped passengers and ensure that each of the callous terrorists are tracked and brought to face justice. He says no one, he stressed, should be allowed to hold the country to ransom. He commended law enforcement agents and emergency operators for their response in evacuation. Meanwhile, in the latest update provided by Mr. Samuel Aroa, the Commissioner for Internal Security, Kaduna State, he says 8 bodies have been recovered while 26 persons were receiving treatment at one of the several hospitals. The Honorable Minister for Transportation also gave indication that there were 41 persons who were injured in the attack. From the manifest of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, Mr. Aroa says that 362 persons boarded the train. 398 passengers actually bought tickets from the AK9 train services, but 362 were validated through the recognized turnstile of the rail services. The 332 that boarded does not include staff of the Nigerian Railway and security operatives that were on board. Investigations are now ongoing to ascertain those that have been unaccounted for, especially that they are concerned that some of them may have been abducted. Some Punch reports about some witnesses' accounts indicating that the terrorists who attacked the train had actually come to the scene in Sharon buses as well as motorcycles. They attacked the VIP coach SP-17 and took some people to the bush. The terrorists were identified as small boys who could not be more than between the ages of 18 and 20 years, and they didn't look like Nigerians. That is what one eyewitness, a passenger on the train, observed. Meanwhile, at the Senate yesterday, I'm sorry, because we have 2 topics to discuss this morning. Yesterday on Good Morning Nigeria, as I indicated, Mohammed Ali, who is NTA's acting Deputy Director of News, gave us some insight into what happened. I just wanted to point out, when we say 8 persons died in the incident, there are persons who know some of the casualties. For instance, Musa Lawal Ozigi, who was the Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress and had at some point been a guest on Good Morning Nigeria when we were discussing labor issues. He's a gentleman whom I knew. We were classmates at University of Lagos where we read law. We were also together at the law school and were called to the bar on the same day. His soul rest in peace. He was traveling with his wife. His wife was injured and she's currently on admission. They were going for an assignment. Also on that train is the chairman of the Kwara State chapter of the Trade Union Congress. TUC.
Yes, the Trade Union Congress, TUC. So may our hearts go out to their families and to all. You can see on the screen there the photographs of those who passed on. Musa Lawal is the bearded guy, very jovial, and it's a Paul that descended on the platforms of the law class as well as the law school class yesterday, and commiseration is all over the place. It's a senseless attack, to be honest.
Yes, there's that dental surgeon too, who was reported to have tweeted that I have been shot. Pray for me that I survive. Unfortunately, she didn't make it.
Unfortunately, because because it took time, before rescue operation commenced in the area.
Yes.
She must have been bleeding, when she sent that tweet.
One passenger actually gave an account that after the train had derailed, the terrorists came flashing torchlights and they were trying to get into the train. The doors were locked. They had to use their gun to force the place open. One lady said she was shot, but she was lucky that the bullet did not touch her bone. She was shot in the thigh and she couldn't move. But a soldier, when the soldiers came, the soldier carried her on his back to climb over the cliff to the place where they were rescued. So it is...
we must commend the response of the military
security, yes.
Because especially first it was at night, and I think from what Muhammad Ali told us yesterday, the response, of course, when you are in such a circumstance, that's not when you are looking at your wristwatch. Yes. But within an hour or so, they had mobilized, and they were about 25, 30 minutes away from Kaduna. It was as if the military personnel were on standby for any eventuality. And so they came, and when part of the I don't know, the plan for this whole thing was that the terrorists themselves had buses which they conveyed those who were kidnapped and therefore unaccounted for. But once the military had secured the location, they also had vehicles to convey the passengers who were then taken out from the train. What Muhammad Ali said was that the interior of the train was lit. And because it was nighttime, of course, you wouldn't know what the surrounding environment would look like. And that's when the terrorists started firing into the train. But at some point, the lights went off, and then they tried to gain access. They gained access through the rear. And yesterday, when we had the MD of the Railway Corporation, it said something that I found very curious, that the Railway Corporation then tried to take another locomotive to tow whichever coaches were then available after the derailment. But then they realized that 800 meters before the last coach, the rail track had been vandalized, which meant that the terrorists apparently planted explosives at some location, and then as soon as the derailment occurred, you had another set of persons who were then removing the tracks.
It was clearly a plan that had, they planned it perhaps in the day, waiting for that train to come, because of course they know the timing of the train. They know that in the evening they leave by 6 p.m. and so on. So it must have been planned during the day before they actually took off. And
if you recall, during the days of attack on the road highway, it was always around that same Regina axis.
That means that the terrorists are located in that area. All right, Bayo. Well, let's call it a day on this edition of Newspaper Review. We'll do it again tomorrow.
I'm sorry. I was going to also mention this about Anambra, where they have unveiled, as I corrected earlier, commissioner nominees. Now, the governor is reported to have also sent a list of special advisors to the State House of Assembly for clearance. That is not what the Constitution requires. The Constitution requires you to submit to the Assembly, including the National Assembly if it is the President, the number and not the names of the special advisors you wish to appoint.
Soludo has his own approach to things that he's been doing so far, right? People had to also apply, online for positions of, commissionership. So I don't know, he has his own plan. But I think he has advisors as well that should advise him on the right thing to do. Right. All right, but we'll see you again tomorrow.
All right.
This is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Now we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll be hosting the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, on the state of the nation. Stay with us.
Are you aware that your perfect family may be under threat by germs? Germs can cause infectious disease. These infectious diseases are amongst the biggest killers of adults and children. Illness-causing germs are everywhere. In unclean bathing water, on your clothes, dirty surfaces, on cuts and wounds. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 capful. In your bathing water, on your laundry, for surface cleaning, for first aid, and to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol sure.
The Nigerian aviation sector is rapidly growing with the construction of new international airport terminals in several regions of the country. The new Murtala Mohammed International Airport has an estimated passenger increase of 30 million annually and 15 million for Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Malam Aminu Kano International Airport is also expected to open new frontiers for the region with more travel capacity for the annual Hajj, while the new Akano Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, avails more business opportunities connecting the industrial cities in the region to the world. These new terminals beat world-class standards with enabling infrastructure that aid air travel, tourism, and the eventual growth of the country's GDP.
Open up commerce and, of course, link us to international societies.
People from international community will come here to do business, and then that will bring in more revenue to the states.
Now, distances can be seamlessly covered as Nigeria keeps raising its bar to suit global infrastructure standards.
Contemporary times require practical skills to remain competitive and relevant in your organization. Therefore, take advantage of NTA TV College Short Proficiency courses to sharpen your professional skills. Basic Broadcast Accounting and Auditing. Date 4th April to 15th April 2022. 2 weeks. Audio Engineering Operations and Maintenance. Date 18th April to 29th April 2022. 2 weeks. The course fee for the 2-week course is 150,000 naira only. Accommodation inclusive. The venue for all courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more enquiries, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos. Training you to be the best you want to be.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who is a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
As the 2023 elections draw near, remember, evil prospers when good men and women only wish for peace, but never take a step to make peaceful elections happen. Are you a father? Are you a mother? What are you saying to your children as elections approach? Have you warned them not to let themselves be used to cause violence? Have you explained to them what the consequences of electoral violence might be? Do your part to make peaceful elections happen. Talk to your children. Protect them from unscrupulous politicians who want to put them in harm's way, while their own children are comfortable at home, within and outside the country. Let's join hands to make 2023 elections peaceful. This message is from the National Orientation Agency, NOAA.
Now, it's 7 years into the Buhari APC-led administration, and there are massive achievements in all sectors, even as we admit the challenges that we face as a nation. And of course, hard work to ameliorate those challenges. That's according to the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, who is actually our guest this morning. For now, let's take a background report to kickstart our conversation on the state of the nation as captured in Monday's press conference.
Ask them, what infrastructure did they leave behind? How many kilometers of roads did they leave behind?
Ruling out the achievements of the present administration, the Information and Culture Minister was emphatic about progress made by the country under APC rule as compared to the 16 years of the opposition.
In their most recent act of desperation, they sought to erase 7 years of unprecedented achievements by the Buhari administration.
Lai Mohammed noted that a viable opposition is desirable in a democracy, not an opposition that advocates for the destruction of the very country which it seeks to want to govern.
When they had the money, when petroleum was selling for almost $100 for more than 10 years, what did they do with it? They frittered it away. If we did not, if we left a sound economy, if we left a sound economy, a sound infrastructure, we will not be building will not be completing the 30-year-old Itakpe Warri, will not be building a brand new standard gauge rail from Lagos to Ibadan. But we were viable, we were vibrant, and we did not seek to destroy Nigeria.
Admitting that challenges exist, government, he said, is not resting on its oars, pointing at infrastructural development under the present administration. Lai Mohammed said it has never been this good, just as an enabling environment created for economic growth and investment. The minister said it is always in the interest of fairness to put the records straight. However, the ruling APC is not under any illusion that the opposition will stop its disinformation campaign.
All right, let's welcome the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. So good morning, Nigeria. Honorable Minister, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kingsley. Thank you, Koyan.
You're welcome, sir.
Kira, thank you.
All right, let's start off with this conversation, by having your thoughts on the horrific incidents that occurred on Monday night on the Abuja Kaduna train service.
I think I'll first of all want to express my very sincere condolence to the families of the bereaved. May their soul rest in perfect peace. And also, I wish to pray for the quick recovery of those who are injured, and hopefully also for the quick release of those who are abducted. It's a most senseless attack. It's very sobering. And we as a nation must not give in to bandits and terrorists. What they intend to do is create panic the way they've done yesterday. But we must not give in. And the good news is that I spoke to the Honorable Minister of Transportation yesterday, and it assured me that before the tracks are reopened, the integrated surveillance system will also be in place. That it will not only be for Abuja Kaduna rail, but it will also be for the Lagos Ibadan, standard gauge rail, and also the Warri Itakpe Jakuta railroad. Once again, I want to express my condolence to the families of the bereaved, and also pray for those who are recuperating. But this is not to take away from the successes of the security agencies fighting terrorism, fighting bandits. I think I've been here several times, and I say this is an extremely asymmetrical war where there are no rules of engagement and where the security agencies are always at disadvantage because while the other people have no respect for any rule of law, rule of engagement, the military we also need to, observe certain, certain rules of engagement. And you notice that in the last 4 months, this is the first incident of any attack on a railroad, on a rail system, because in the last 4 months, the security forces have been doing everything possible to ward off this kind of thing. But what the terrorists always do, they just look for this kind of freak, incident to inspire fear in the populace, but I can assure you everything possible will be done to avenge those who have been killed, and the only way to avenge them is to ensure that we put a permanent end to these terrorist attacks.
So now that you were starting with security, and a few months ago that you talked about, we still find the fact that bandits are also very active in Zamfara, in Niger State, in Kaduna, and in southern Kaduna, and what have you. Well, of course, the president has summoned, on a number of occasions, the service chief to say, look, ramp up, security, activity to see how these elements, can be curtailed. But it does appear that, like you said, it's an asymmetric kind of war. When you hit them on one side, they move to the other. What do you think should be the strategy for now, to see how we can tame these elements? Because they appear to be, they have numerical strength, in terms of the way they operate.
Kiran, like I said at the beginning, what happened yesterday, 2 days ago, does not take away from the successes that our military security forces have achieved in the last couple of months in fighting terrorism and banditry. Small fact, even the global terrorist index, terrorism index, admitted that terror-related killings in Nigeria had gone down by 50% in 2022 compared to 2021 compared to 2020, which means really, the military is doing a lot, and they are making that a lot of success has been achieved. You can see that it is the successes of the military in particular that has led to the surrender of so many terrorists and their families in the northeast. And if you look at what the federal government has also done to ensure a more secured environment, it's not a coincidence that the GTI has actually rated Nigeria much better in 2020 than 2020. If you look at the military, for instance, the federal government has purchased a lot of platforms, about 150 MRAPs, 100 trucks. We have provided accommodation for the military. We have ensured that more personnel, about 10,000 more personnel were, employed by the military. And you look at the Air Force, we've acquired many more platforms. Of course, the 12 Super Tucano, the 3 JF, Thunder fighters, among other, platforms. The Navy has, also acquired. Actually, they manufacture the Eagle Eye, which is a locally, fabricated seawater boat. Now, what I'm saying is that the efforts of the federal government in supporting both, in terms of equipment, in terms of personnel, and in terms of morale, is what has actually led to the successes that we have, encountered in the last couple of months. We should not take, the incident of Monday as a yardstick to really measure the success of the military in fighting banditry and in fighting terrorism.
Honorable Minister, thank you for your explanation, but I would like you to also respond to the fears and anxiety that you find amongst the populace with frequent reports of incidents of banditry, of kidnapping, and terror. Even if you were to say, look, let's minus what happened on Monday, and we cannot minus that, you'll find columnists writing, there's no place to hide, and so on and so forth. And against the backdrop of what you have explained, with the acquisition of fresh platforms and boosting the morale of the security personnel, how would you expect the citizens themselves to respond to their existential threats and harm in remote locations where communities have their property razed by roving bandits and so on and so forth? In other words, if there is still palpable fear amongst the populace, how do you address them?
Yeah, you see, Kingsley, it's a pity that when the kind of senseless killing that happened on Monday, when it occurs, it erodes the long-standing, peace and normality that has existed, over time. Now, the truth of the matter, we deal in facts, we deal in figures. That's why I roll out the figures of those who have surrendered, the figures of those, who have been, the bandits who have been eliminated. And I also quoted the Global Terrorism Index, which is a global, body that actually measures how far each country is doing in terms of fighting terrorism. The truth of the matter is that we are doing much, much better than we did a year ago. And we'll continue to do, we'll continue to do much better. You see, the response of the federal government, especially under this president, to terrorism and banditry in terms of providing not just, platforms and providing enabling environment, is what has led to the bandits fleeing. You see, you need to understand the mentality of bandits and terrorists. They want to inflict, spectacular, injury, which actually exaggerates their strength and their importance. And we must not be discouraged. We must not give in to them. The federal government, honestly, in all sectors of security, be it police, be it military, be it army, be it navy, be it air force, has been reinforcing the capacity and the readiness of the military. Look at the police, for instance. The implementation of the community policy initiative has led to the training of over 25,000 constabularies in various, police colleges all over the country. And these constabularies, they've been trained in basic police roles. They've been trained to collect intelligence, and they've been sent back to their own localities so that the visibility of the police will be higher there, and also, since they are local people, to be able to gather local intelligence. In addition, the federal government has also approved a 20% across board increase in pay for all policemen, and while exempting the law officers from income tax, and not to talk of the equipment, the 100 branded Buffalo vehicles and the like. So this is an administration that is not taking the issue of security lightly, and we are actually winning the war. Don't let this isolated incident of Monday give the impression that we are losing the war. This is what terrorists like to do. This is what they like to hear. This is what they try to achieve. Strike terror and hopelessness in the people. But we are rising, to the challenges. And like I said, henceforth, before we reopen the tracks, we'll make sure that the integrated vigilance system is also in place. Not only...
And Honorable Minister, I'm sure the travelers will also be saying, those who commute between Abuja and Kaduna and vice versa, that while the tracks are closed, the Abuja-Kaduna highway will be at least considerably safer. Absolutely.
This is where I say with that. If you had noticed, in the last 4 months, in particular, there's been a lot of sanity restored on the Lagos, on the Abuja, Kaduna road, and we continue to do that. We will testify that.
Okay, well, maybe we'll have time to revisit the issue of security, because it's taking all our time. But I believe that you also like to have time to talk about how the government has fared in the last 7 years, because the conference of Monday, which you had, was primarily to showcase achievements of over the period and make necessary means to dispel misrepresentations of some facts. So now put things in the right perspective. Let's get to know, how far this government has gone the last 7 years in whatever sector that you may wish to highlight for Nigerians to also understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, we thank you. With all sense of humility, we are proud of our achievements in virtually every sector of endeavor, be it security, which I've explained earlier, be it agriculture, be it the economy, be it in aviation, be it in the various intervention of government. And I'll start with aviation, for instance. We've in the last 7 years, we've been able to deliver 4 state-of-the-art terminal buildings in Port Harcourt, in Lagos, in Abuja, and in Kano. Within the same period, we focused on developing aviation. If you go to the Nigerian School of Aviation Technology in Zaria today, you will see that we have not only, established and installed a full motion flight, simulator aircraft, which is saving Nigeria millions of dollars in retraining pilots. We also installed an aircraft firefighter training simulator, the only one of its type in all of Africa. In the same aviation industry, we have also, refitted and the fleet of the NCAT. Already 6 training aircraft have been procured. Still in the same aviation industry, we have procured mobile control towers for Lagos and Abuja. We have installed, ILS, Category 3 ILS in Abuja and Lagos Airport to ensure that aircraft can fly in, under low visibility. In addition, we have identified 4 of our airports as special economic zone for better investment, to encourage investment. And only recently, the federal government approved the construction of new runway in the Abuja International Airport. You know that we have only one runway, and we think it's not fair to have just only one runway. And the only one we had, what happened in 2017 when it packed up? We had to close the whole airport and start flying from Kaduna. If you go into the area of agriculture, for instance, unlike past administration that spends scarce resources, importing rice and importing the other staple food, this administration has invested in agriculture, especially through the Anchor Boras program. Before 2015, the total capacity of our farmers was under 4 metric tons of rice annually. Today we are doing 7.5, tons, metric tons of rice. Before 2015, there were only 15 standard rice mills in Nigeria. Today we have over 50 standard and integrated rice mills in Nigeria. Under the Anchor Borers program, 4.8 million farmers today have benefited from this program in about 23 staple foods: rice, cassava, millet, and the others. So we are working towards building resilience in food security. If you take they accuse us and say, oh, people are suffering in Nigeria, and we say, well, if people are suffering in Nigeria, at least we are doing something to ensure that we alleviate the suffering of the people. Our national social investment program is the biggest in sub-Saharan Africa, because under it, the Empower has employed over 1 million people. Under this same program, we have what we call the household upholding program, and what we have there is the flagship is the conditional cash transfer. As of today, over 2 million households, very, very people, enjoy 5,000 naira monthly, cash payment, and another 1 million was added, the urban poor, as a result of the COVID-19. Today, under the national, homegrown feeding program, we feed 10 million pupils a day. And you see, for you to know what feeding 10 million people a day is, there are some small countries that the entire population is under 1 million or even 2 million, which means we have capacity to feed, 3 times a day. Some, some countries. That's what it means. But you see, because people don't understand what it means to feed 10 million people every day with 1 meal. In addition to that, this same program employs about 100,000 cooks and other, auxiliary staff, and it is helping over 100,000 also, smallholder farmers. Yes.
Honourable Minister, now, thanks again for the explanation, but help our viewers understand the seeming paradox that you find in the strides in agriculture versus food inflation whenever the numbers are released by the National Bureau of Statistics. How do you explain that Nigerians are spending more out of their pockets now for food at a time when visibly we are seeing the gains from government intervention in agriculture?
Right, you see, I can explain this in many ways. The first is that while the federal government is doing everything possible to subsidize agriculture, we've found out that we are actually feeding the entire West African zone. And that is why the government came out to appeal to farmers to please stop selling their produce at farm gates to people from other neighboring West Africa. What it means is that we are subsidizing, other African countries. If Nigeria should give Nigerian farmers money, implement to improve their yield, then their yield has improved, and instead of selling to the local, they now sell to the foreigners. Of course, they make more money, no doubt, selling to the foreigners. But they must not forget that we subsidize their production. So they must show more sense of patriotism and make sure that they sell their, staple, in Nigeria. That is one very important factor that is probably, is accounting also for the high price in food. The second, Kingsley, is that I took the time over the week to look at inflation, food prices, gasoline prices all over the world. And I took China, I took South Africa, I took the US, and I took the UK. And you can also Google it yourself. The rising food issue is a global phenomenon. The gas and oil issue is a global phenomenon. It might be higher in some countries than the other, but there's no country in the world today that is not touched by this, by this inflation or rising food prices. So but it seems that we must continue, we must remain focused in ensuring that our agricultural programs are a success. And this is why I said, can you imagine what would the situation be in Nigeria if we still had 15 rice mills, as opposed to the 50 that we have to do? What would be the situation in Nigeria today if our, the entire, rice production is under 4 metric, million? 4 metric million tons, as opposed to the 7.5 today. So clearly the figures, don't lie; they speak for themselves.
All right, Honorable Minister, let's turn attention to the issue of some critical infrastructure, roads, for instance, bridges and what have you. Because we've been told a number of times that some of the loans that the nation acquired actually were deployed to those critical infrastructure such as roads, bridges, and what have you. Could you just throw more light?
You see, Kiran, there's no government that has actually invested more in infrastructure than this administration. I say this without any fear of being contradicted. And the results are there. Let's start with the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. You know how many times it has been launched and relaunched. We can tell you that by the grace of God, we are going to commission this Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, this year. Already, the completed part has given a lot of, has given a lot of joy to those to the users, because now we save time, then lives, the carnage on the roads are much less. Now leave that, look at the second Niger bridge. It was launched several times by the former administrations. We can tell you that we will commission it before the end of this year. But let's look at other roads that we have commissioned. Now, there is the Inewi Uduma Road. It's a 26-kilometer road that, between Ebonyi and Enugu State. We have done the Vandakia, the Vandakia road that, I think it's Vandakia, that links Cross River and Benue State. We have done the 100 kilometer between Sharuri and Azari. We have done the 300 kilometers for completed and delivered between Sokoto, Tamboa, Kontagora, Jega, and Makera. We have done the in some of bridges. We've done the Ecom Bridge in Cross River State. We've done the EB Bridge in Taraba. We've done the Bandema Bridge that links Cross River and Cameroon. We've done the Kotokarfi Bridge in Kogi State. We've done the local Oweto Bridge in Nasarawa State. We've done the
as you are reading out these accomplishments, Honorable Minister, I'm sure some of our viewers there will be, who are in these locations that I'm going to mention now, will be asking, well, Honorable Minister, when are you going to come to our side? For instance, Benin Auchi Okene Lokoja Expressway, when are we going to have attention on that road?
Kingsley, you see, it's only legitimate for them to say, when we come to our place. But we must also appreciate that we have constraints. And what we try to do, that we try to ensure that as many geopolitical zones as possible are covered in what we are doing. If only other administrations can do, or they have done what we are doing now, to be a different story. So to those whose localities have not been touched, we ask them to be patient. But at times, it might be roads and bridges that they've not benefited from. Probably have benefited from other, activities of the federal government. But in terms of infrastructure, we are very proud of what we have done, because the roads and we've commissioned housing units in 34 states of the federation, and we continue to do so every day.
Honorable Minister, this last question I want to throw to you, and it's a subject that has engaged us also on Good Morning Nigeria. One thing on the left side of the ledger, we borrowed money, and on the right side to deliver on the infrastructure, some of which you have listed already in this conversation. But there remains the pertinent question of payback, because we had a conversation around here, we had the DG of the Debt Management Office. There are concerns about our rising debt profile. How does the administration hope to package this so that it doesn't become a burden, not just for the next administration, but also a burden on Nigerians in general? How do we get around this?
I think several times we've explained the issue is not what you borrow, it's what you do with what you borrow. And I've been here this morning, I've told you what we have done with what we borrow in terms of infrastructure, in terms of roads, in terms of bridges, in terms of railway. Just like we talked about Auchi, and they look, that same axis is benefiting from the Warri Itakpe Ajaokuta, rail system. Now, what is important is not what to do with the money, but what you do with the money, not whether you are borrowing the money. We are borrowing to secure the future of our children. We are borrowing to invest in infrastructure. I know the opposition say, what with the infrastructure we go chop. Oh yes, because that's what is going to provide, productivity, is going to provide jobs, and it's going to improve your economy. But you see, the real problem for Nigeria is that our tax to GDP ratio is low. No government in the world succeeds without the citizens paying their taxes. So the problem really is not that we borrowed. No. We borrow to invest in infrastructure, which will yield, in future in terms of job employment, job creation, in terms of poverty alleviation, even in terms of connectivity. I don't think that the issue is how do we increase the internal generated revenue, especially taxation.
Oh, okay, sir. Can we turn to education? The federal government and us, have been having a running battle, over the years, with respect to issues arising from the poor state of affairs at the federal universities across the country, and even some state universities also join in their strike actions and what have you. So can we now have an idea of what government has been able to do, and why the ASU strike has persisted, in spite of the fact that the federal government has also done, done something, positive, with respect to education.
ASU federal government conflicts are probably as old as this country, or as university, education. Even as a student in the university, probably many decades ago, we're not all, none of us were immune to ASU strikes and the like. I would rather have the Honorable Ministers of Education and Labor, who are more competent to really talk about the nitty-gritty of this. But I think it's a matter we need to manage. It's just like employer-employee relationship, which would continue to be managed meaningfully by the parties. But I think those other my counterparts in education and labor and employment will be better suited to address those issues.
Okay, Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, we of course hope that we have some more time to discuss other aspects. We won't touch on anti-corruption, for instance, in our conversation today, because we're getting on to have an update around the Abuja Kaduna train terrorist attack that occurred on Monday. Alhaji Lai Mohammed, once again, thank you for being our guest this morning.
Justin, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for coming.
It's Good Morning Nigeria live on NTA's network service. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation on the Abuja Kaduna train disaster.
Thank you for the rejections that taught me to keep striving. Thank you for the long hours that taught me discipline. Thank you for the knockdowns that taught me to bounce back, and for the unexpected victories that taught me to never give up. Thank you for making me who I am.
Are you aware that your perfect family may be under threat by germs? Germs can cause infectious disease. These infectious diseases are amongst the biggest killers of adults and children. Illness-causing germs are everywhere. In unclean bathing water, on your clothes, dirty surfaces, on cuts and wounds. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 capful. In your bathing water, in your laundry, for surface cleaning, for first aid, and to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol Sure.
The 157-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan Railway is the first double-track standard gauge railway to be built in West Africa. The Mobolaji Johnson train station is a masterpiece, an infrastructure that is gradually becoming an iconic building in Lagos State. The modern facilities put the station on a world map of train stations. Likewise, other new train stations across the country built to world-class standards. The train and its convenience is indeed an admirable effort, with commendations from Nigerians.
This is a station that we have to commend the federal government for putting a beautiful face, empowering us in Lagos State, not only in economic and political arena.
I can say that I'm really impressed with the infrastructures in place. Kudos to the Minister of Transportations. Kudos to the federal government.
Truly, good things are coming out of Nigeria, and the federal government is deserving of all the applause.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
Well, it was a gruesome long evening into the night for passengers and crew aboard the Abuja Kaduna bound train on Monday, 28th of March 2022, as terrorists bombed a section of rail tracks and unleashed mayhem thereafter. Well, we get an update on happenings as well as a perspective to security on this recent attack with our guests this morning. So let's first of all welcome to the program from our Kaduna studio, Brigadier General Mohammed Kabir Ganadanchi, public affairs and security analyst and consultant. He's also CEO Stonewall Events and the Recreation Arena. Good morning and welcome to the program. Nigeria. Also here in the studio with us, Dr. Kabir Adamu, Security Risk Management Expert. It's also good to have you join us on the program, as always.
My pleasure. All right, Kieran, thanks a lot. If we have the Zoom connection, we will go over to join our guest. But I understand that that Zoom link is not being established. Well, Dr. Kabir Adamu, regular analysts on Good Morning Nigeria, we are here again.
Unfortunately, the circumstances of the incident is one that has taken the nation not just by surprise, but has shook the extent to which the circumstances of insecurity has reached people who are going about their livelihood, moving from location A to location B. All of a sudden, some of them are dead, others are missing almost 48 hours after the incident. Nobody knows where they are, while a significant number of them are hospitalized. Family members, as you know, I run a consultancy. I have been contacted by several families seeking help on how to go about, as it were, negotiating with the persons that are holding them. So a very sad moment for our country.
All right. Brigadier General Mohammed Kabir Galadanchi, what was your first reaction, really, when you heard about this incident? And what does it really mean to you with respect to the security situation in Nigeria at the moment?
Thank you very much. It is sad and unfortunate that this cycle of insecurity is going on, and somehow my personal view is that our analysis of the situation is more to do with political situation or other situations other than the actual incidences that are happening. If we could remember, some 3 weeks ago, there was an incident in southern Kaduna where a lot of people were killed and houses were burnt. Just immediately after that, there is this attack on the airport in Kaduna, and just after that, there is this attack on the train from Abuja to Kaduna. Now, every time this kind of things happen, the first thing that comes to our mind is there is no security. Government is not putting effort on securing the lives of people. But unfortunately, my own thoughts goes far beyond that. First and foremost is, why are these things happening? Is government doing enough to look at why should people be interested in Kaduna-Abuja Road, and not other areas? If you are talking about train, there is a train between Lagos and Ibadan, Itakbe to this. So what is the interest in this particular route that is always being terrorized by these terrorists? So this brings me to my own thoughts on the issue. Because for everything that a human being is going to do, he must have a reason and a purpose for doing that. Now, every day incidences like this happen, the first thing is government has not provided enough security. But have we asked ourselves, who are these people who are doing all these things in order to make life miserable for the ordinary Nigerian? Because until and unless you can be able to find out the reasons and those behind it that are doing, this thing, then you cannot be able to find a solution, because there is nowhere in the world that you deploy enough security. Thank God yesterday the Minister of Transportation was talking about trying to put in helicopters, put in sensors and whatever. But with all these sensors and helicopters, how can we be able to follow every train coming to Kaduna and going back? What are the people who are doing this thing trying to achieve in getting this thing? And now, coming back to the security situation that has happened within the last 1 month around the area of Kaduna, there is something that came up within that same time that, in my own view, has a relationship with what is happening, which is the convention of a political party and whatever. Now, is it that at every time there is going to be a program like this, that something must happen, people must suffer for this? So what am I saying now is that government needs to look inwards. What are the reasons why somebody is sponsoring those things so that the life of Nigerians are at stake at every time? Because no matter the kind of troops we are going to deploy, as long as there is somebody who is there, who is ready to spend anything to gain a political advantage by the suffering of Nigerians, then we are not going to get out of these issues. And that
the politicians are also sponsoring this one. All right. Thank you very much, Brigadier General Galadenchi. We'll return to you in the course of the conversation. You are emphasizing the political dimension to insecurity. If we have enough time, we will interrogate that. Because the point that has also been raised in the past is, if there are sponsors of these terrorist attacks, why don't you go after the sponsors and then put the perpetrators out of commission? We earlier indicated that we'll be joined by another guest via Zoom. That's Roland Ataguba. He's CEO of Bethlehem Rail and chairman of the Technical Advisory Committee on Nigerian Railway Bill and National Transport Commission Bill. Ataguba, pleasure to have you with us. You're joining us, we understand, from the UK. I'm not quite sure where your location is in the UK right now.
Thank you. I'm in London.
All right. Okay, let's start off by having your thoughts on what happened on Monday night in Nigeria. I mean, we've had one or two similar occurrences in London years past. What does this remind you of, and what needs to be done?
Thank you very much for your question. It is a heart-rending piece of news. And it's one that we seem to have had coming, given our propensity to react very slowly and without haste. What can I say? Heart goes out to victims, and also sad to know that I've been personally affected. I've got friends and relatives currently unaccounted for. And we're trying to find news and about what may have befallen them. So it's a very difficult time. Solutions.
We seem to have a challenge, in that Zoom connection. To Roland Ataguba. As soon as that's taken care of, we'll return to him for his contribution. Now back to Abuja here, where we have Dr. Kabir Adamu. The last speaker before after I go by that's Kabir Galadanchi did mention something that has to do with the sponsorship of this event. But if you look at if you chronicle what has been happening in the by the activities of these bandits, they're operating across the northern part of the country, in Zamfara, in Niger, in Kaduna and what have you. Does it appear that these people are sponsored? And from what the eyewitnesses, on this incident, told us that the young men didn't look like Nigerians in the first place, right? And perhaps they may be communicating in another language or something. All right. So do we have to think towards this issue of sponsorship, or are we supposed to tackle head on the issue of insecurity, knowing full well that they will have bandits and they have some kind of numerical strength, and there are too many, and they're operating from every other thick forest in northern part of Nigeria, right? And so with respect to the incident that happened, what do you think that may have given them the audacity, to take to what they did? It was supposed to using an explosive, to derail a train and attack the train as well.
In simple terms, they exploited the gap that exists in our security arrangement. When you have a critical infrastructure like a railway service, the level of security protection should be at such that even if the perpetrators are able to violate one level or one layer of security, another layer should be able to protect it. Now, in this instance, in October last year, these persons attempted to plant a bomb. In fact, they planted the bomb on the rail line, and luckily, the detonation did not derail the train. In my honest opinion, even though we're yet to conduct an investigation to know what happened in this instance, they probably learned from the mistakes that they may have made in that last incident and improved on that mistake, which led them to the success that they achieved. Now come back to us as Nigerians, and by us I mean the security agencies. Did we learn from that experience? Did we put in place measures to ensure that there is no reoccurrence? And unfortunately, that is where the gap exists. And that is why I am advocating that first and foremost, an investigation be conducted, both into the last incident and then this current incident. We've had the Minister of Transportation saying that he submitted, a proposal for approval of 3 billion naira for a solution that could have detected if anybody touches the rail track. Now, that is just one component of it. I'm aware that there are several security agencies that are usually deployed on top, inside the train. Now, an investigation would reveal, were they there on that train? Then who has responsibility for the protection of the rail line in terms of the human deployment? And then more importantly, and I've been on this program after the first incident, where I advocated that we should incorporate the communities around the rail line into the security infrastructure. I make bold to say, and this is really to the Minister of Transportation, that solution would be good, but it's not enough. Especially if you consider the challenges within the Nigerian environment. Power is a challenge. A young boy can go and, tamper with that solution. And we know that that's already happening. Those vandals that are removing the rail track, whatever solution you put, they're probably going to tamper with it. So a more sustainable and far-reaching solution would be to incorporate the communities surrounding the rail line into the security architecture. If they don't know how to do that, several of us are happy to support them. This is something that you are doing for your nation. So in summary, there are 27 ministries, departments and agencies in security in Nigeria. We need to bring these 27 together and ask them in clear terms, what are you contributing to national security? The ungoverned spaces you mentioned, there are departments in government that every year they submit a budget. And what are they doing to ensure that these bandits don't continue to hibernate in that forest? If we continue the way I see us doing, I'm very worried as a security practitioner. The evidence that we need to ensure the prosecution of whoever is behind the attack is being destroyed by the footage that I am seeing on TV. How many people have entered that train after the incident? I haven't seen that train cordoned off. so that the forensic evidence that we should now have gathered and kept, eventually and I hope this is what will happen, we will identify who was behind that attack. That forensic evidence is what you need for the prosecution. That is not happening.
Well, Dr. Kabir, we understand that yesterday the security personnel were at the location and that they, of course, cordoned off the area. I imagine. I didn't get that in the report.
I didn't see that, unfortunately.
Okay, I didn't know what I'm about to say. I imagine that perhaps they were also picking up the shrapnel from the IEDs to then follow up with their ballistic examination. But I know you've always referenced the number of government MDAs that have one thing or the other to do with security. And the response of the military was commendable. We've spoken about that already. I mean, having to get up at night, I mean, they walk around the clock, by the way. But the question has also arisen. Is it that, if you recall, sometime in the past, when it was the commonest criminality, if somebody was attacked by armed robbers, they would say it's armed robbery, as though armed robbery were a legitimate business. I hope we've not now said, look, it's insecurity. It's insecurity. I'm raising this against the backdrop of the number of MDAs you have identified. The entire country is fully covered. All 774 local government areas. You have the presence of any or if not most of these establishments. If you have a presence, it means that you have a human being who is in charge, who has that jurisdiction. You also have communities where these incidents are located. It appears not just the train incident, because before now you were having reports of whole villages that have been sacked, whether in Kaduna, Zamfara, Katsina, Benue, Enugu, parts of Edo, Niger State. They just sacked them. I would say it's insecurity. Insecurity appears now to have become a label to describe it, but there is responsibility. Who dropped the ball?
In simple terms, in these 27 ministries, departments, and agencies, there are coordinating elements among them. Now, in clear terms, those coordinating elements are responsible for this. And frankly, I would have expected that immediately after this incident, those coordinating elements would gather together, have a meeting, and then do an in-house investigation and find out who is responsible. And I'm not in any way not apportioning blames to the Railway Corporation. You are a journalist, and I would urge you to invite the MD. Let him tell Nigerians what security arrangement he has within the Railway Corporation. How strong is that department? Is the person heading that department, was he given that appointment on the basis of merit? What measures has he taken for an in-house security arrangement that would lead to better security within the NRC? Now, I'm not in any way absolving the NRC of responsibility, but security starts with them in-house. That department should be strong enough, capable of providing protection. And so the levels of responsibility, and because that's the word, accountability and responsibility, should start from the NRC up to, in fact, the person who is in charge of that particular department, in which case the Minister of Transportation, and we can go all the way up. But my point, and that's the point I made earlier on, we can't continue accepting this type of failures. There must be accountability. When human lives, at the last count, we're told 9 persons, at least their corpses were found.
Eight officially, we understand.
What really should come to mind of many Nigerians, in this connection, is are we properly policed as a nation? You have mentioned MDAs that have one or two things to do with security, but what is the strength, the personnel strength, in terms of numbers, to be able to cover the ungoverned space that we're talking about?
Kieran, I have a different approach to this, and it's a little bit controversial. When you're talking of strength, you also have to talk of utilization. You and I are aware that if one VIP visits your station today, he's probably going to come with nothing less than 20 security personnel. So by the time you count the number of the VIPs and then multiply this 20, so how are you going to convince me that we're short-staffed of security personnel? So it's a matter of utilization as well as management of the resources that you have at your disposal. If you add all of these 27 together, at least 9 of them have policing responsibilities. In other countries, if I pick a country like, let me use Germany as an example, these 9 that we have in Nigeria are subsumed under one, which is called the police. So as an example, you have the police itself, you have road safety, you have civil defense, you have to an extent immigration. In other countries, all of these are subsumed under one. So bring all of this together and then see their numbers and then remove this number of persons that are associated with VIPs. And then how are you going to convince me that they are short-staffed?
Okay, now I'm sure you had Dr. Kabir Adamu, Brigadier General Kabir Galadanchi. I hope you just had his last submission to the questions we put to him. Now, do we have enough personnel in all the security departments that we have in the country? Do you think that there is need for state police, for instance, to be able to have enough personnel to man the ungoverned spaces we have in the country that are, providing succor for these elements who have decided to govern themselves in those areas and, of course, unleash mayhem, from there. And as a security personnel, do you think that something has to happen in the security architecture of the country? Do we need some level of adjustment or a strategy, to be able to face these elements, who have decided to unleash mayhem in almost every part of this country?
Thank you so much. My namesake, Dr. Kabir, has said a lot about security deployment, security aspect. But sincerely, my concern about most of our discourse is more to do with the way we look at issues. I'm digressing a bit because you said it, that these things are happening everywhere. They affect everybody, everywhere in the north, this and that, even some places in the south. What I'm saying is that when we are making a national discourse, we should not be thinking about incidences one after the other. We should be thinking holistically about the issues, because you are trying to protect this side. The other side is being exposed, this and that. So I want us, whenever we are discussing national issues, not that we cannot, national issues cannot be discussed on particular instances, but to look at it holistically, so that unless government deals with this issue on a holistic level, we will finish with this one, we are going to transit into the other, into the other one. So we really, my own take on this insecurity issue is that there is something larger than the eyes can see. Now, is government doing anything to ensure that the root cause is being caught, so that the agencies we are now talking about and the facilities they are supposed to employ to be able to contain challenges of this nature have the opportunity to do that without distraction from some other places? We have, like Dr. Kabir said, I believe that we have, for our need, enough security personnel to be able to police Nigeria, especially if you give them the technological backing to do that. But the issue is, are these people that are doing all these things, not also as intelligent and as some of us. If you block this place, the terrorist will always look for a loophole where he is going to attack you in your weakest point. So the question is, can we find out why and deal with the main causes of the insecurity itself? And that is what I think should be a national discourse. Because every day instances like this happen, we are talking about where is the failure of this, where is the failure of that, where is the failure. By the time you finish, Dr. Kabir said the last time about 3-4 months ago when there was an attempt on that rail line, the same people who did that and they failed, they went back and worked on their failures and came back and did something that gave them a certain level of success.
All right, Brigadier General Galadanchi, I just would like you, because we're getting pressed for time, you've talked about the need to have a holistic conversation around insecurity, and you've also drawn attention to the need to interrogate or exhume, if you like, and examine the root causes of insecurity and what needs to be done. In your opinion, could you just itemize some of the root causes of insecurity and why we are having these burgeoning incidents across the Northwest?
Unfortunately, there is, with all due respect, there is too much politics in most of our issues. We are having people who want to lead us, and instead of trying to tell us what they can do to help us to survive and live in peace with each other, they are creating more problems, creating more issues, or capitalizing on more issues to as a political weapon against the citizens themselves, not against their political allies or somebody. So one of the problems is the political actors. The second one is even people who are in government, who are supposed to be queued up to have knowledge about history. Good things have happened in other countries. What if these ones are happening? What will have been the causes and what this? Thirdly, our commitment as Nigerians, as individual Nigerians. Today, in the security agencies, you find out that there are people, even at the highest level, for sentimental reason, for whatever reason, this and that, we tend to sell our conscience. We divulge information to people who are not supposed to know. Even at the highest level of government, there are people who might still be with you, and they are still nursing some other ambitions or other things. So what I'm saying is that until Nigerians decide to understand that whatever happens, whatever you get out of what happens, you'll find out that there is always going to be a repercussion. Because a lot of people who got involved in this trend, mishap in Kaduna, this terrorism in Kaduna, a lot of them did not bargain for it. And a lot of them are seeing these things happening. Unfortunately, they were nonchalant, whatever. But the bottom line is that we really need to sit down, stop this, look at what are our problems and how we are going to solve this problem so that we can overcome not only security challenges, economic challenges, and whatever. And that is my take.
All right, Brigadier General Mohammed Kabir Galadanchi, thank you. I think we've learned one or two things from your last submission, which has to do perhaps with sabotage or something, or saboteurs, who are aiding and abetting all these security challenges that we are talking about, especially with respect to banditry. and even terrorism. All right, we understand that our Zoom connection is back, and let's return to Roland Atagoba. Well, when you were on, actually, we had this challenge, and right now you are back. Let's continue from where you stopped with respect to the incident of last Monday in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, as I was saying earlier, and has been clearly elucidated by your other guests in the studio, who seem more versed in this subject area than I would be. I think the issues are more of security than they are railway or technical railway. It's just a big shame that it has occurred around the railway. But the preponderance of the problem is environmental. We have a huge security challenge in Nigeria. And I think the experts have really touched on a lot of the areas that need to be addressed. So it's really a matter in the hands of the security services or the people concerned with security. Yes, within the railway, there have been some technology-driven solutions proposed, and I believe that President has now, as we hear, given some direction for the swift implementation of some early warning systems, some technology solutions for surveillance, and so on and so forth. But again, it begs further questions. These solutions are themselves not foolproof. They help us certainly to provide early warning for human intervention. But there are these issues of complicity, as one of the guests just raised. What if there are these complicities, internal complicities? Same way we talked earlier about, I heard earlier about infrastructure challenges and how some of these facilities may not be exactly secure and could be tampered with. So I will defer in terms of solutions to the security experts. They certainly know more about this area and the terrain, but something urgently needs to be done. There's no saying that. We can't continue the way we've been going on. But again, as I said in the previous statement, a private operator would have done a lot better and have been more responsive to this. And we need to hurry up the reform of our railway sector. Can't say more than that.
Right. Thank you very much, Roland Atagoba, for being part of our conversation this morning. You joined us via Zoom from the United Kingdom. Once again, Atagoba, CEO, Bethlehem Rail, Chair of the Technical Advisory Committee on Nigerian Railway Bill and the National Transport Commission Bill. Roland, we appreciate you being our guest this morning.
My pleasure.
All right, now back to the studio to get the closing thoughts of Dr. Kabir Adamu. Well, I want to link up some issues and very quickly. I know that you can take up the issues and then give us your opinion. The purchase of the Super Tucano jets was indicated as a likely game changer. And we have seen since the commissioning of those jets, we have read reports and accounts of the strafing of terrorist locations, particularly in the northwest. But the terrorists appear to be proliferating in different locations. The question then arises, what is populating the ranks of the terrorists? Are these Nigerians or are they foreigners? Do we have a profile of these persons to know whether foreigners are actually levying war against this country? And if so, where are they coming from and how can they be stopped? They're big questions, but just wrap around them before.
They are not so big, incidentally. Okay. I've been looking into them, and I hope in future appearances here you give me an opportunity to show maps where I'll be able to show exactly what I want to say now. If we look at the area around Igabi local government in Kaduna State, and some of the locations where the most recent incidents happened in Kaduna, the airport area around Katari and Rigasa area. If you draw a cycle around them, they all fall into what I'll call a concentric cycle, a perimeter of violence within that axis. Now, there is a forest in that part that would lead you on the one hand all the way to Niger State, and on the other hand, all the way to Niger Republic through Sokoto and Kebbi State. What am I trying to say? This forest traverses about 5 to 6 states in Nigeria and to an international border. So any measure that you take in just one part of this country, one state, that does not incorporate this other state, is a measure in futility, because the adversary would probably know you are coming and then just pass through to the other state where he or she is safe until you finish that measure, and then he comes back. So anything short of permanently dominating this ungoverned space with either technological or human presence is a measure in futility. So that's number one. Number two is intelligence, and I think we've spoken about that enough in this program. Now, there is another missing element which I would like to mention before I close my remarks. We had an opportunity to test our national emergency preparedness plan after the incident in Kaduna that we failed woefully as a nation. We have a national emergency preparedness plan that incorporates all of these 27 ministries, departments, and agencies. I heard with my ear one of the victims of the attack saying it was the military that put him on their back to bring him out from where the incident happened. Now, where are the other agencies? So this is the point I'm trying to make. We need to sit down as a country, run an investigation, find out that emergency preparedness plan gives apportioned responsibility to each of these ministries. In my opinion, the military should have cordoned off the area, and then the other agencies come in and do their work. NEMA, as an example, has a role to play.
This is indeed a big issue that requires more time, for us to interrogate that. But I think what is more important now is to look at for those who have been abducted and taken away into the forest. Dr. Kabir Adamu, security risk management expert. Well, we thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Brigadier General Mohammed Kabir Gladanchi, public affairs and security analyst and consultant. We also like to thank you for sharing your thoughts on this matter. Thank you for being here this morning.
All right, that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria today. Big thanks for tuning in. The program returns tomorrow, same time, 7 in the morning. Take care of yourselves. I'm Kingston.
And I'm Gideon. Thank you for watching, and see you again.